we'd like to welcome everyone to today's session with Mr. Ralph Jean-Paul. As you know, my name is Ernest Stackhouse. I'm the president and CEO for AMMEA, which is the Advocates for Music and Music Education Association, where our mission is to cultivate, support, and enhance music and music education in the state of South Carolina through fostering academic partnerships, professional learning opportunities, and resources for classrooms. Today, we have our esteemed host with us, Mr. Linard McCloud. Mr. McCloud, when you're ready, sir, the floor is yours.
Okay, certainly a pleasure. Several weeks ago, we had Dr. Cliff Lehman to do some woodwind techniques studies with us, had a master class and was very informative. And today we have one of my favorites. One of my students call him the GOAT. I don't know if I call him the GOAT, but he's a demigod. He is Ralph Jean-Paul. And Ralph Jean-Paul will be giving us a master lesson on the tuba today and talk about some other lower brass things. He hails from the bottom. He's from Miami, Florida, and he went to Miami Central High School where he studied under the baton of Dr. Shelby Chipman. And Ralph, in his bio, he will say to anybody that he got his formal education under the leadership of Dr. Julian White. And he went on from leaving FAMU, he went to NIMS Middle School, where he did a great job there doing tutoring, after school tutoring and other kind of classes he had there. And then Ralph decided that, I think in 2009, when he got the Fox Summer Music Experience Award, that he went to California and started playing, and then he saw a movie. He was with Robert Kraft, and they were doing a movie during the time, G.I. Joe. And Ralph just got real excited about the tuba even more than that. And so he went on to the University of Florida, where he got his master's degree. And presently he's working on his doctoral degree. And he is just a tremendous person. He's working at Florida A&M University as an adjunct tuba professor now. And I guess 90 days of not hearing a tuba player, I'm just thirsty to hear some good tuba playing. I think it's been 90 days for all these directors since the last time they heard a tuba player. March the 16th for most of us when we got out of school. So Ralph, just humor me a little before you start and just play something for us so we can get all energized. Hadn't heard no tuba, so treat the old man good and give me some tuba playing before you start talking. And we'll get to your questions right after that.
Let me ask you this before you start. I've lost everybody. I can see myself, but I've lost everybody. Is there anything I could do to get everybody back?
You want those three prongs on the bottom of your screen, Dr. White, those three buttons, if you just want to change your preview setting.
Yeah.
How it plays out. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'll find that.
All right.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you for having me, Mr. Stackhouse. Thank you again, Mr. McCloud. I'm gonna play one of my favorites. This is a Bordoni exercise number 2. It's all for brass, lower brass instrument. Hope you enjoy it. We'll get started.
All right, thanks, Ralph. Before you go, you got to do stars and stripes for me too. But anyway, good start. And Ralph, first question: what method study do you consider essential for developing the young, intermediate, and advanced player after a student has developed acceptable concepts of tone, breath, support, and phrasing?
I'm gonna pull up what I wrote down because I wanted to share it, but I think there's something going on with the screen right now. But I'll just pull it up.
Dr. White, you're currently presenting. If you could stop your presentation. It should be over your right-hand corner.
Maybe I can just take over.
I'll tell you what, Dan. I'm going to leave the meeting.
I got it. I got it.
Okay.
I think it's sharing my screen now, if I'm not
mistaken.
Got it. Do you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I took the liberty of just going ahead and answering that question and just kind of just offering some things that I think could help. As myself being a former middle school teacher for a short time, but 90% of my makeup is all fundamental and just individuals understanding how to function and how to address it versus just being able to do it. So I put a guide for tongue placement for young and advanced brass players. That's just a general topic. I just kind of culminated it all, and then emphasis on wind speed to eliminate what we call intonation. So for me, I think it's important that they have these essential items: metronome and tuner. I think most beginning band books start with open F, and they kind of let them kind of venture out to figure out how they're going to figure out those notes from F above and below. But usually a young player don't worry about the upper notes. They usually go from F to that concert B flat, or even that pedal F, surprisingly, that 1 and 3 combination that sometimes we avoid because we think that they just can't get it. But that's probably the easier register for them to get it, because that's when the wind is not as mature. So they're still trying to figure out how to disseminate it. So I really encourage to, focus on those particular registers of that instrument. Euphonium and tuba alike, in that particular register. And then, really emphasize chromaticism. Just let them go through and just understanding what sound concept is blowing through. I wouldn't focus on intonation at the beginning because they don't know what a good sound is relatively. So I don't really speak intonation to young players. I just speak about direction, air direction, and just over time, just building those muscles and those tongue placements. That's going to allow them to play these semitones. Because if you play F, really, you can play F to B flat with one setup without even, just let it kind of deflate. So if you just take that manner and not trying to push them too hard, too fast, but understand there's a control factor, then they get it. But some habitual things, I'm not going to read it because I know we're under an hour, but for most beginning band book, focus on the open partial concert F to start a young player. Soon after, introduce the downward 8 chromaticism semitones at 60 ppm, or even slower, 52 for middle school, so they can really get a concept of timing, or 48. I say between 48 and 52 is real cool. And then awareness of moderate mouth cavity to extend lower mouth cavity with the tongue placed lower at the top and bottom teeth separate from each other. So make sure they have an even column of air sound, their mouth cavities apart, and they're just totally relaxed. Like a real good singer. When you see good singers, their posture real relaxed, their arms are open, and they have this particular posture. So it's the same thing for musicians or instrumentalists, that they're disseminated with most control. Biting down becomes an early bad habit if not properly addressed. Causes poor delivery of air dissemination to actually go through the instrument. In other words, no vibration to the front of the lips. Chromaticism plays a very important part of comprehending intervallic distance between notes as it ascends and descends. And how do you do that? Give a series of note identifying semitones, rhythm quizzes, tests before correlated to fingering, slide position. Demonstration is key, so play with your students. Doesn't matter if you're a woodwind percussion player, just play with them. If you could just produce a real basic whole note on that particular trumpet and you're not a trumpet player, just, just demonstrate good fundamental blend. I'm not saying to be an expert at it, but I think it helps out. Because I'm not an advocate euphonium player, and I have to pick up euphonium because I have euphonium as my student. So there's some things that I had to learn as well. So I'm not really speaking just by theory. You're going to kind of have to practice it. Absolutely. And you apply the sequence, and I can share this with you guys and go on and so forth. Time signature, 4/4, whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, constant F descending chromatically, so on and so forth. And then some things I just reference, make this process your daily build. After a while, tones will settle and students will begin to demonstrate proficiency in producing beautiful sounds, as well as develop strength in mouth cavity, aperture, embouchure, tongue placement, wind compression, speed, forward motion, energizing the tones, which I picked up that phrase from just being in the FAMU culture from Dr. White and Dr. Foster, so on and so forth. So that's just a generic unified thing that I express. So just stress the importance of pitch and function of each brass instrument. As you notice, I have said nothing about intonation. It's about just building those skill sets, the inner ear, the mouth cavity, the semitones. Don't run away from it. I know people just want to avoid and teach those certain notes that the book tell you to teach, but there's nothing wrong with them to know all 12 notes, even though they don't know how to physically get there, but it's okay to tell them all 12 notes from day one so that you can kind of decipher, what needs to go. So yeah, I think that was question number one, Mr. McCloud. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
Well, that's all right. Dr. White always told us, if we practice two scales, you have a good player, B flat and B.
Yes, sir.
Now, Ralph, we're talking. I was always intrigued when I came to camp. I would hear James Sater, who was a phenomenal trumpet player, playing them little cartoon caricature stuff with Mickey Mouse and all that, and then so many other players. But you always did stuff on your tuba that was just out of the box, and I think that's why the second question is like that. You wanted the tubas to have more of an involved part in the music, and so Sarge gave you credit for that last week when we had him. Before you talk about question two, you can make that brief. Why don't you demonstrate something that the tuba players would have fun doing, like maybe a Stars and Stripes or something that you pick up that's fun for tuba?
I don't have my I have my sousaphone here. Most of my fun stuff, believe it or not, is on my B flat horn.
Okay.
But if I were to do like something, let me see. I'll pick something out. Oh yeah. Like, I don't know, something like this Capriccio Penderecki. It's on the upper register, but it's similar to what we would try to attempt to do. Let me see. Let's see if I can do it. So something like that.
All right.
When you're thinking about like those eclectic type music or YouTubes that kind of take you out there, and then you never want to oppose fixed bass because that's who we are. But if you can like let us travel a little bit, instead of doing the fundamental half note or quarter, we appreciate that. So I think
he understood. He understood that you were a partial guy.
Yeah,
man. Hey, boy, that was hard to do just now.
yeah, and on spot too. Yeah. So it just kind of
tell us that second question. Tell us what prompted you to do that, and how were you able to teach that, and how do you teach that now based on what Sarge is doing?
Well, I think it was attributed to the environment. It was competitive. Dr. White was was a great band director. That's my band director at FAMU. That's all I know, and just his method of teaching through the unisono scale stuff and, you know, solo literature, brass wind ensemble, you know, Dr. Chipman helping out. I mean, it was like a collective bargaining thing. So it's like in every area you had to like be intensified and just like expanding, you know, just your personal repertoire beyond what they were offering in the classroom. So I think that helped a whole lot. And, you know, just being part of those great platforms, ABA, FMEA, you know, I mean, so many other things. I mean, accolades, you know, that typically that don't happen all the time, but we were afforded to gain those experiences. I apologize. Yeah. So that was pretty much it. So it just came from just never being satisfied. I guess, you know, sometimes when people tell you you're good and you be like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm all right. Let me keep working hard. I said, Doc, is there something else that I need to be doing? He like, no, everything's fine. I said, no, Doc, everything's not fine. Please find something. Tell me something's wrong. And then, you know, and I think that's a special trait. And I think just coming from that environment really helped me kind of foster those skill sets. Yeah.
Well, I think he told us last week when he did spend the night, the first tuba part he wrote, he said, man, this ain't gonna make it. We ain't got nothing to do, you know. So you know, do something else, you know.
Yeah.
But let's move on, Ralph. You are a tuba demigod to many. Who was your most influential tuba role model? And I know two of them. And what did they do on the instrument that impressed or encouraged you to achieve?
I mean, early on, my first tuba role model, I would have to say, I had to give it to Bringo Seidel. He was the intern at Miami Central. That last year when we went to Macy's Day Parade and all that great accolades that Miami Central like attained that year. So Bringo Seidel, and then definitely Richard Beckford at band camp, that 98. And then kind of those two guys been my mentor, and Kristen Yeomans, who was the section leader then. And then, you know, I met the Burke guys, you know, Robert Perrineau and the Allens. I mean, it's just like a nucleus of those guys. So many, but I have to attribute those two guys actually like sparking and kind of opening it up for me.
Going to the next question, but everybody on this line would do yourself a great treat if you can go back and see that band camp of '98 band. I could probably say that was just as good as the Marching 100. That concert band was just a great band to see. I mean, and not all of them went to FAMU too, but a lot of them did. But they went to several schools in Florida and other places. But that was a great band to see. And Ralph was the leader during that time. So, you know, you owe yourself a treat to go back and see that 1998 band camp, FAMU Summer Band Camp with Ralph.
Yeah.
No talented musician is a product of themselves. Who do you credit for your success?
Early on, Kathy Blaha, my middle school band director. She was a flautist. I mean, amazing teacher. Just she emphasized everything in the classroom, from small chamber ensemble to beginning, intermediate, jazz band. We even had a little holiday season marching band where my first march was on Wisconsin. I'll never forget it. That helped me out as a young tuba player that didn't have that good pace. So those activities helped out. And then, you know, going on to Miami Central and being part of Dr. Chipman's program there, Mr. John B. Tracy, and, you know, Dr. White, and so on and so forth. So I have to give it to Kathy Blaha and now Dr. Chipman early on. Yes.
Okay, and I guess the final question is, for many years, you know, and we've spoken about this a lot, because you've been telling me some things. And I mean, I remember when I went and bought a mouthpiece because I heard somebody talked about it. I said, I'm going to check this out and ask Ralph first. And you said that's garbage. But anyway, for many years, the Bach mouthpiece has been the standard. What size and brand mouthpiece do you recommend for advanced players, and why?
I would say it's all depending on equipment as well. As I've learned over the years, tubas, I mean, just like any great instrument, it demands a quality. So I don't really get into mouthpiece. I'm kind of more concerned about what you're using for the time and what's comparable. So if a Bach or a Parentoni, Parentucci, those are like some of my favorites. Lasky, 30. I'm playing on a Warburton. I'm playing on a Warburton mouthpiece here. It's a Warburton 30M, but I also play on a 5/4 tuba. So the size is a little bit bigger, so it demands a little bit, you know, cup-like presence. I mean, typical for middle school, you'll be fine with a paratone like 44. That's really good for a young tuba player, where to give them good smooth and give them a nice bowl where they can still get that armature to develop. You know, I'm not a real big mouthpiece guy, but I just use what you have in terms of, you know, equipment. If you have a top of the line equipment, then you got to get a better mouthpiece to get you to respond. You don't want to put 93 in a Bentley. I mean, you don't want to put 93 in a Corolla when you could put 87, you know? So it's kind of like you just tether through that. So for me, I'm not a big mouthpiece. It all depends what I'm dealing with too. But you can't go wrong with Bach. It's a nice cup, soft cup, you know, and then you could kind of do some things. But those more advanced cups, they come with those equipment. Now, like if you said you had some 3-4 quarter tubas in middle school, yeah, then get you some Parantones, get you some Laskies, get you some the Allen Bears, get you some Mike Finn. They're good too. You could put those in rotation, so on and so forth. So that's my recommendation.
Well, I think, you know, we were getting there with that because you got all kind of mouthpiece gurus out there doing all kinds of plastic stuff and all that, you know, just kind of terrible. But anyway, Ralph, you know, I appreciate my part, appreciate you being here. And Stackhouse, we can open up for questions now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hear you.
Stack, you muted out. Ernest, we can't hear you. Okay, while we're waiting on Stack, you got anything else you want to play for us?
Yeah. Beyond the Bordoni, I was working on these two. Let me show you this little project I'm working on. And you guys know I'm Dr. White and Mr. McCloud, my good friend Clayton Maddox. He's doing some phenomenal things, and we're putting some things together in terms of us adding this multicultural component in ITEA, the International Tuba Euphonium aspect, and just as a case sensitive, not being isolating ourselves, but we're still breaking barriers. You know, there's not a lot of African American that's trying to attain a DMA in tuba performance. I mean, realistically, I think there's like one handful noted to this date. I think it's like one handful. I mean, there are a few, but not really out there. So some of the things that we're doing, especially from our particular background and where we're from, we're still breaking barriers, and we're learning and we're sharpening our skills, and we're letting people that know that we can do it, even with the hardships that we had, you know, going through like just low income situations, not having resources. They didn't know these particular things were like here and available to us. So we're working on just different projects and recording projects and so on and so forth. So one of this duet that we're working on, I'm going to share the screen with you, but I just want to show you some of the stuff that I carry around naturally. So this is kind of like a quarter of my Bible, meaning just music that I'm learning now. I don't carry no more because I'm uploading them on, I'm getting with the technology. I have it on my iPad and I just go to the file and just do what I need to do. But it's nothing like having the physical book, and I'm just go through it right quick. I still use treasury scales, you know, as my long tone warm up. And what I use with these, I use them as like recording components. So as I have first, second, third trombone and euphonium and tuba, so I can hear how I sound playing those partials that don't really align with mine. I use, you know, treasury scales. I'm just gonna go through them quick. You know, William Bell, good conceptual mainframe books. It has all the, you know, etudes in here that you could got, you know, etudes, duets, you know, Bach cello suites and all that stuff. You know, it's good for high tuba and euphonium as well. And this is just my personal notebook. I write everything down. I'm not a typer, so I write it down. If you look through here, it's kind of like my journal, so I can remember. you know. So I just old school, I guess. And then, you know, Carnival Venice, just to keep my competency, you know, in place, just, you know, make sure my technique, you know, I just have it in rotation, you know, warm up, etudes, solo literature. Even though you don't have it, I would encourage, you know, you to have, you know, band directors just build your own personal solo literature, you know, a few grades of each instrument, you know, so that you could copy and put it on your board so that every instrument know that, hey, when you come here, you're going to play this solo, even though you may not, you know, require, you know, assessment of that nature, but you could create those assessments in your classroom. And just, there's more literature, just solos, you know, A2 books, Blazvik,
Oh, Boston.
1, Blazvik 2. Some of my brass players may be familiar with those. You know, Tyrell, 40 Studies.
Well, you got that from Prof. B.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Marco Bordoni, you know, 20-minute warm-up. You know, this one's real good. You have your Caproche standard, you know, just in high horn and low horn. You know, old school Caproche, if you remember, that's how the back really looks. So I still have this one. And then you can't go wrong with Old Faithful Arbans, you know, for trombone and euphonium. You know, just kind of go through it. And then as of recent, they have a double C Arbans for tuba. You know, for so long, tuba players were reading, you know, the trombone and reading it down an octave, or the trumpet and just transposing. So now my good friend Clayton, he's working on a project where they're going to write it for B flat, because there's not a Arbans for B flat tuba. So he's working on that project. He's at LSU now, attaining his DMA. So some of the things that would just kind of, like I said, just, you know, breaking barriers and sharing, because these are things that, you know, we know are out there. We just got to make them more apparent. So
you showed one of the guys when you showed him Carnival of Venice. Somebody said they want you to play some excerpts from that if you can.
Oh, excerpts of that? Okay, yeah. Hold on. Let me get back to it. Ella. Let me see. If I miss a few notes, I go take a lap. Okay. All right. Let me see. Let me I'll play variation 2. Let me see if I can do this one. Oh man. I don't know, Mr. McCloud. You caught me off guard. Hello.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was another listener, a viewer.
Okay. Hello. I think you caught me off guard.
Okay.
Okay, let me go. Oh man, I'm rusty. Sorry. Oh man.
I couldn't find a better song to put on the spot.
Oh man, yeah. You got me. Yeah.
And Ralph, that was Oscar Wright who wanted you to play that, so you get Oscar.
Okay, I get Oscar later. Okay.
Stackhouse, you go ahead.
Wow, man. All right. Wow, man. That's all I can say is wow.
Yeah, you caught me off guard. Yeah.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that I guess the first march you learned was on Wisconsin, and that's the first march that my band director taught me as well.
Oh man.
I guess and FAMU is kind of known for playing the marches. throughout the years, I guess, what has been your favorite march?
I mean, reluctantly, I'm gonna say all of them. I mean, we've just been lucky to. I mean, I like marches because it has so many fundamental builds. So I mean, you can't go wrong with the form of marches. I mean, you may have some things that's not exciting, maybe just dull, but I mean, it still has its form. But I think it just does something characteristically to have everybody have that moment. So I mean, you know, shared learning, I guess, you know, artistry and all those things. So I don't know. I like a lot of marches. I think some of them were more difficult than others as I think about it, but all of them were very enjoyable because they were like, you know, musician builders. So, you know, so I value all of them, from M basses to the squealer to whichever ones that we're playing now, Quality Plus. I mean, we've played so many. I mean, wow. Yeah. So yeah, it's just outstanding. Attributed to great leadership too. And just, you know, just digging in there. Yeah.
Right. So when I was in high school and college, we used the Miraphone brand concert tubas. I guess what's your favorite brand play on in that?
Well, yeah, I'm exclusively, I like Miraphone. My C tuba is a Miraphone 1291 double C. So yeah, I'm right aligned with the Miraphone family. The 187s, that's usually stock for high school, and you see the more high school programs. Those are actually very good horns. But you know, of course, you know, the bigger horn, the bigger quality, the bigger sound. You know, I tell people the sound that you hear in those movie soundtracks is not those little tubas we're using in our band room. You know, it's those 5, 6 quarter tubas. Those I call them those monster trucks. But and that's how you hear those particular, you know, characteristic sound. So, but they're achievable. You know, they're great horns for what we use them for in the academic settings.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, by the way.
Now,
okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I noticed that at FAMU, when you were there, I think we only had a B flat tuba. Now, why do we have so many? Why can't you just play a B flat tuba? Explain why you changed tubas and keys for tubas.
Okay, you know, great question, Doc. The bass tuba, which is actually the high horn, the F tuba, the original tuba, the one that I play, I've been playing here. This is the actual original tuba. But the bass tuba was really used for ostinato. So it's for voicing and texture, and the diameter of the instrument. So it's really like cutting it off at a certain point of the instrument, and you made the horn smaller, basically. So you cut it from B flat to F or B flat to C. So and then so that the voices could speak a little bit clearer, because really when you got all that bottom trying to speak different voices, it kind of like gets cluttered. So they use those different tubas to establish more clarity and just more brilliance for the upper, middle, and lower register. So like even like this thing I'm going to show you, and how where the bass voice and the upper voice kind of intertwine, and you got to make those same, you know, it's just like playing baritone and tuba when they're in the same register. I tell my tuba and euphonium player, when you play that B flat that's on that same second line on the bottom, I don't want to hear tuba or euphonium. I want to hear B flat. And then as we move away, use the same concept, you know, so don't, you know, try to overdo it. So that's the most difficult thing, just for texture purposes, Dr. White. And definitely for the high horns, that's a command for the solo register playing.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right. Now, you were recently, I guess, responsible for the FAMU virtual band camp. Can you give us some I guess some information on how you came about with the idea first of all, and then how you implement it?
Okay. It all stemmed from just staying in contact with our communities, our students, our supporters, the university, just society, just everybody dealing with this, pandemic totally differently. But for us, more fortunate one that could kind of continue on and kind of create some kind of form of normalcy, It was just looking at the dynamic and how we all had to go remote as teachers, professors, and the whole 9 yards. So the big thing was, the Zoom, meetings. Let's talk. Let's come here. Let's try to teach online. Let's try to do this all remote. So just seeing different platforms and seeing different smaller organizations which already offered these things years prior, like these networks where you pay a subscription and you go there and you're part of this group. Well, that concept started to become more apparent. So I said, hey, let's do the same platform. Let's see what it's going to take to use the systems that are appropriated with the Zoom, with the multiple room options, what we want to offer. We still want to do a FAMU concept in terms of what we offer in our tutelage at band camp, and how can we bring that from a webinar or virtual interactive concept. So we laid out all the concept and how many days we wanted to do it, who wanted to be involved. We got all the faculty and some of our guest presenters into it and kind of isolated what we thought subject was going to be important. And then it was really geared around the students for them to have the master class and the engagement and something for them to do with the fitness and the dance routine. And then it was more engagement for the directors so that we could figure out these common things that we've been holding, but now that we're idle, how can we figure out how we're going to move forward? So it was all a combination thing and just offering the same kind of tutelage that we would normally do. How are we going to teach? Is MPA going to be important? Now how you going to get, how you going to start that beginner that you never start before? And I got that from my good friend that's on this webinar with us. He said, I don't know how you're going to start a sixth grader. And I don't think anybody has thought about that on virtual aspect, So we're going to be dealing with some challenges just by staying in communication with our community. So, we talked to our IT person, we figured out the platform, how we wanted to do it, what technology was actually realistic to serve 800 students that we had applied to the camp, and, getting our clinician involved. And, it was some late nights, but it was all worth it though. Hello? I think you're muted.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I know a number of band directors who attended, and they all had high remarks for the virtual camp. And can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little delayed, but I can hear you. I think he left the meeting.
Okay, he's having some problems today. Well, Ralph, during the virtual camp, a lot of band directors will be faced with some of those same kind of obstacles as they start up. You'll be a valuable resource. Would you be willing to tell them about how you get that started, how you compile the data and get all that information straight so they can actually do that program themselves?
Surprisingly, the Zoom already is compatible with all those break room options. I think someone posed a question, I think how successful it was. It was very successful. Just, isolating each instrument into their own room, like sectionals. Everybody meets in a master room. So I'm telling you just the function of Zoom. Everybody meets in this master room. I guess per pre-registration, just have their instruments in place, and then you're building your break rooms, and based on whatever instructions you want to give, trombone, euphonium, tuba, percussion, and if you have a guest speaker or someone else that you have something kind of going on, you can put those in those break rooms. And then the main room is basically essentially after you get done, if it's a 50-minute segment, a 30-minute segment, they come back to that break room again. You guys can just tether. The great thing about the break rooms, you can record your sectionals, because that's the system. You can record it, you can look at it, you can review it, you can share it back with your students. Now, the great thing about what we have with our site is that you need a place where the students could really upload their videos, whether it's an audio or cell phone video. I would encourage you to develop a website that's compatible so that the students could go to that website, school website maybe, with your band director's portal, where they can get the content to upload, and then you can get these particular files, and you could just tether through them. Or if it's Canvas that you're using, Canvas is real good, but it's figuring out the permission how to deal with your individual district. But for the most part, I think it works great because now if you want to bring somebody in virtually, like a flautist or clarinetist, they could come do a sectional with your clarinet section, or trombonist, or a tuba professor of some sort. I think we have more accessibility because of this option now more than ever, because we are remote. So I would take advantage of just redeveloping and reigniting our network and getting some people in front of students that look like your students, and that's going to be, you know, unequivocally helpful to them as they kind of learn this way, because it's effective. It just, you know, because it gives them responsibility to stay in front of the screen, because they love staying in front of the screen, but you got to give them a reason why they're in front of the screen now, you know, with this particular platform.
Well, this will help you as you go into the fall. But what are the challenges that you're going to face this year with the limitations that you have? As far as performance, indoor rehearsals versus outdoor rehearsals, what are some of the challenges that you will be facing?
I mean, honestly, it's really a day-to-day situation. Realistically, we have a projectile, but you know, the most common thing, and I think most of you guys probably seen a preliminary of the research that came from Colorado with the whole band movement and what they suggested, and like closed room. As of right now, they're saying really closed rooms with the inappropriate HVAC system. You kind of SOL. I mean, already, if I could quite be honest. So the only viable thing right now, I think, is outside, you know, that they could quantify. So, but still, that doesn't mean the engagement with people to people, being around them. They say the circumference is breathable. After 90 minutes, it's done spread. So if you have 100+ people breathing like that for 90 minutes, then, you know, without the proper things, I just don't, I really don't know. That's why this here is going to be like a rebuild of just musical ethics of how we perceive it. Because I think a lot of it is going to be done behind the screen in a short amount of time. It's going to be done physically, because the physical is going to be more like, you're going to have to know what you need to do and what you're contributing. If there is a platform to perform, you know, for the, you know, for everyone. So really, I think a lot of the content is going to be sectionals on Zoom. You know, let's get together, full band practice on Zoom, maybe 2 days out the week versus every day. So maybe
the bands that are not on your level will have more difficulty, because outdoor rehearsal could be an outdoor nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Ralph, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a quick question. I didn't mean to ask you, but it was on that same topic. Recently, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the governor in Florida has required that schools open in the fall. And I just want to know what your opinion was on that. And also, do you guys have a plan of action, not even just for you guys, but for some of the neighboring high schools to proceed forward?
When they say open, they mean almost similar to how we ended the year, remote, or if you want to come back physically. I think some districts are asking people what you want to do. When they say open, they really got to, it's all a business. They got to stimulate the economy somehow, some way. So getting people back to work, working remotely, that's really considering open. The physical aspect, I think, is going to be appropriated by districts and certain limitations, but they have set those limitations. They told us, no large gathering, small groups, practice outside in terms of band and football activity. But for the most part, I think it's open, but not from that context. Like they just want everybody flooding back. No, we have like 50%, kind of operation, one person per room in a dormitory, there's some guidelines. So it's not all like you could come back. Those who decide to come back, these are the parameters. If you want to stay home and do remote, that's your option as well. So it's kind of, a societal business move. So schools are going to be open, not from the factor as we, had it back in February or March or January, where we were fully open and operational. That, I don't think that's going to be realistic,
So Ralph, I guess what are what is your plan of action as a staff for the Marching 100?
Well, I mean, it's a unified thing. I mean, with the leadership of Dr. Chipman, who's sitting on those particular committees, trying to figure out what's going to be realistic. The university that I've already told us what class is going to be remote and what's not. So we're following the guidelines of the university. So we're not even making any decisions based on until the university says, hey, you can do this, you can do that. So we're really in limbo, and we're going to use this platform that we used this past summer, of course, a way to stay communicated with our students. Because we, like Mr. McCloud said, we do have faculty people, so we have a way to stay in contact with our students. But in terms of just performance rubric, nothing is definite until we can say that we have some kind of idea of control. So I'm not sure right now, but you know, we just know that some courses, like right now, my applied tuba and brass ensemble, as of today, is remote. Now next week change, I don't know, but as of today is remote. So I don't know about just the whole bigger ensemble that has to perform, you know, and you know, so we're trying to figure that out.
Now, speaking of that ensemble, the Marching 100, you guys have, and it's been all over the news, that you're actually going to be in the SWAC Conference for this upcoming season and in the foreseeable future. I guess, how do you feel about that, and what are some changes or differences that you feel that you guys are going to have to adjust to going into a new conference?
I think we'll be fine. I think it's just new personnel that's probably gonna get a chance to see us more often. You know, students like what they like. You know, the difference is clear in terms of what we represent and what we do. You know, I call FAMU the 8 to 5, 8 to 8 faculty and staff. You know, we work all day and all night. So, you know, just like other, you know, comprehensive good programs, but we're not worried about it. We're gonna do what we're gonna do. We're gonna inspire others. And I think our recruitment is gonna probably widen up, you know, not probably, I know it is. You know, just them hearing that, you know, that different idea that's there, that's presented. So it's gonna be exciting, you know, different, you know, audience. And yeah, different bands, opportunity to have more band competitions. And sharing is caring, and we're ready to be intensified and let them know what we do. So, you know, we'll be fine. You know, I'm excited.
So I know that you guys moving to the SWAC puts you closer in regards to your football games and traveling. So is that going to affect the band's budget for recruiting and scholarships at all?
No, I mean, we have a comprehensive scholarship system, you know, so we have out of state, you know, scholarships, in-state scholarships. So, you know, it's more about the students being accepted to the university, meeting the test requirement, the GPAs, and they handling their astute situations, you know, test scores, so on and so forth. And then based on the musical, you know, ability and the comprehensiveness, yeah, we offer them scholarships. So there is great, you know, opportunity for out of state and in-state students to, you know, get scholarships. So it doesn't affect it at all.
All right. We had a question from the group from DJ.
Hey, Ralph, this is Donnell, man. I have a question for you. So the first day, let's say pre-drill, and you have your first sectional. What are you going over within that first sectional? What type of techniques are you showing the section their first day on campus with your section? What do you traditionally go over during that first day?
So good question. So I normally, I'm just gonna share my whole window. So I go through this. I got this from the Baleen book. It's a trumpet player. He has these exercise lift flexibilities. So I had one of my students who's real good, Edwin Montpellier, with the whole, writing and arranging file things. I'm all right with it, but I'm not as quick as he is. So I had him, you know, put this thing together for me based on the original. And I kind of go with just, you know, make sure that they have even air, nice sound. The basic fundamentals are in place, you know, especially with my upper and lower brass players, that they can hear the octaves very well. And we kind of go through the series, you know, the open partial, you know, open, second valve, first valve, 1 and 2, so on and so forth. And then just trying to get them to, you know, phrasing. As you see, the phrase marks are also implied in there. So just basic fundamental thing, time, You know, we might take it in time, then I might take it in cut time, you know, to kind of play around with it, or I may double it, you know, just to talk about long tone studies that I thoroughly believe in. And this is just one series of it all. Kind of, it's like almost 3-4 pages, and they go through, you know, all those partial series, those gritty notes that we normally may not play in marching band, like right here. But then again, there are times when we do go down there. So just giving them something like in common unison exercises. I see Mr. Cloud bringing that thunder over here. But but yeah, so this is one of them that I use. And then the second one here, similar, just going upwards, you know, octave, bottom to top, and you know, things of that nature. Or I may pick, you know, the Bordoni Etude. Is this the one I? No, this is not it. Hold on, let's see. I have so many. Or I might pick one Bordoni. This is the one I played for you guys, and so I may have the phoneme and tuba play it just to work on characteristic phrasing and tones, and just find something that they could relate to. And then same thing, you know, pitch is pitch. If C is out of tune, C is out of tune, what do you need to do to release it? If you're using 1 and 3 versus 4, if you don't have a compensating instrument. So we talk about those things, tongue placement. So, you know, we kind of tether everything in those first couple of days, not trying to make them play too loud too early, and just really getting a good comprehensive sound, you know, which I think is overly important. And as we build, so those kind of things I kind of go through, I'm done now.
And speaking of phrasing, Dr. White, the FAMU has a unique sound as far as the way the band phrases music. Could you talk to us a little bit about that sound and where it comes from and what your thoughts are on phrasing?
Yes, I'd be more than happy to do so. There's a FAMU band sound, and it emanates from back in the 40s, the 50s with Dr. Foster and the Florida A&M University Marching Band. We have that concept, and we spend quite a bit of time working on tone quality, working on phrases, articulation, blend, and balance. And I'm certainly happy that you asked that question, because I developed a curriculum, and some of you may have heard it or may have even presented it to you, the private lesson approach to classroom teaching. And I developed that because when I was at Florida A&M taking applied music, I had great applied music teachers. And I know that we worked on tone quality, characteristic tone quality. We worked on intonation. We worked on rhythmic accuracy and articulation. And so when after I graduated, I went to Jacksonville, Florida to work at William Raines High School. I said, what am I going to do? Because I want this band to sound. I want this band to sound as well as FAMU. So I developed a curriculum, and it's based on having lessons each day of the year and having those lessons numbered. And I'm going to send, when we hang up, I'm going to send that presentation to Mr. Linard McCloud so that he can share it with you. And it has sections on playing from the head, that is developing good conducting techniques, score study, and that kind of thing. And then it goes from there to hearing, the development of the inner ear, and singing chorales, playing chorales, those kind of things, the warm up that Mr. John Paul mentioned, playing those things and having them to play long tones and sing long tones. And then the other aspect that we have in that curriculum guide is that of developing technical facility. And I want to encourage you, when you get this exercise, look at it. When you get this curriculum guide, look at it and work on it, especially the unison scales and chords. Now, it's a rather difficult book, but youngsters can play it because if you should start off playing them in half notes, in quarter notes, and eighth notes, dun 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 dun, until it goes to dun 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 dun. And so I want to encourage you, if you have a good band, it will make your band better. If your band needs to improve in overall technical facility and performance fundamentals, then it's going to cause you to do that. And the last section of the curriculum guide has to do with playing from the heart. And that's where you ask me about phrasing. We play the 16-bar chorale. And the thing I want to mention to you too, as you look at that curriculum guide, you'll say, well, I don't have time to do this. Marching season, I don't have time to do this. but a band is a band. The marching band just plays from a different venue, from a concert band. So the kind of exercises that we use for phrases, we have the brass red warm up, very similar to what Mr. John Paul mentioned. We sing total praise, and we play it, we sing it, we phrase it, we play the 16-mark chorales, and we do all of this during football season. We have our benches on the band drill field and music stands, and we spend about 30 or 40, 45 minutes just on working on tone quality and phrasing and blending ballads. In fact, sometimes the students will say, well, band staff, we're not going to get to the field because we're practicing so much on tone quality and performance fundamentals. But those kind of things really extend the excellence, the artistic excellence of the band. So just to answer your question, Mr. Stackhouse, it has to do with daily practicing on tone quality, singing chorales, playing warm-up exercises, making sure that we breathe properly, that we play with good breath support. We call it diaphragmatic tonal resonance. So, and when you do those kind of things, the phrasing, the matching tones, the building of unified band sounds will happen automatically when you do that. So please look at that curriculum guide, and I would admonish you, study it and work on it, because it's going to make your band better. And I don't want to talk so much, but I know a number of band directors who used it. Mr. McCloud uses it. Mr. Alfred Watkins used it. Mr. Kenneth Talbot used it. Dr. Shelby Chipman used it. And they all had great bands. So I strongly admonish you, if you can, to please take advantage of that private-less approach to classroom teaching.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
Stack, Ernest. We
Yes,
got a treat before we kind of close up. You know, everybody been waiting. You know, one of my favorite little things to hear Ralph do was to do some of those flute things. And so I kind of been nudging him to get his sousaphone. So he has a sousaphone. He's going to do a little bit of Stars and Stripes.
Yeah. All right.
Unless if somebody got another question, you know, he's going to close up with Stars and Stripes for him.
Before we do that, we got one more question from Oscar Wright.
Well, actually, I can email Ralph because I kind of want to hear the Stars and Stripes. So,
Gotcha.
Well, I'm we can't have two. Okay. Ralph is on you.
And Mr. Cloud, you calling me on the spot today, man.
Well, this is mine.
I'm gonna put one of my favorites first, and then I'm gonna give it to you.
What?
Okay for you, Mr. McCloud. You still want Stars and Stripes?
That's good. Yeah, do Stars and Stripes there.
All right. All right. Let me see. Yeah, so.
Wow. Man, you play that better than some flute players.
Yeah. Gotta thank Dr. White for that one.
Yeah.
That brings me back to Dr. White can tell you one of my transitions back in the 90s. We came to FAMU and I had the tuba section to play Flight of the Bumblebee, and Javon Jones came to FAMU.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I definitely remember that, Mr. McCloud.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Okay, Ernest. I'm finished, Ernest.
All right, that was awesome, man. I really appreciate you guys for logging on today. And Ralph, thank you so much, sir. Your talent is amazing, and I'm just so proud of everything you're accomplishing on the staff at Florida A&M as well. You guys are doing a great job for HBCU bands, and I thank you from the just for everything that you're contributing to the profession. Dr. White, of course, sir, everything you've contributed, your legacy deserves no explanation, but we thank you. We thank you for just coming aboard and blessing us today with your knowledge and being willing to share still everything that we're going through. And you're still a guiding light as far as what you're contributing to our craft. And I thank you so much for that.
Thank you very kindly. Let me say this too, just one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Please get that curriculum guide. Mr. Ralph Jean Paul and Mr. Linard McCloud will tell you, get that curriculum guide and work on it. You're going to have a better band because you do.
Absolutely.
Let them know. Give Whitehead my email and I'll send it to him.
Okay. Well, yeah, and anybody who wants that guide, just email us at advocatesformusic@gmail.com, and we'll just send it out one time, Mr. McCloud. We'll send it out to everybody one time.
Okay. Once I get it, I'll send it to you.
Yes, sir.
And then also, I would like to say thank you again, the panel. I really appreciate it. And then as a segue, we are going to be having a follow-up, kind of meeting with the any band directors that attended the virtual camp, and Dr. Chipman is going to give his kind of recap, and those who want the information from that camp, like the sessions, the PowerPoints, they're going to be available to you if you want to take some of those informations back to your districts to kind of, advocate for what you need in order to keep your programs, moving in the right direction. So you should be receiving some kind of form of email this evening for those who attended, and then those who want to come on, we're going to send that out. And then if you want to share it with your colleagues and your friends, please come along. I think it's going to be on Friday evening for about an hour from 7 to 8. But I'll let you guys know. So thank you again for having me here. And anything I can do from a personal standpoint, just, resources, master classes, or, one-on-one with some of your students, just reach out to me. I'll do the best that I can to help you, and, whatever I can do. So thank you again.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. All right. So this has been a presentation by AMMEA, the Advocates for Music and Music Education Association, where our mission is to cultivate, support, and enhance music and music education in the state of South Carolina through fostering academic partnerships, professional learning opportunities, and resources for classrooms. Mr. Ralph John Paul, you contributed to this in a great way today, sir, and I thank you. We thank all of you as well. And until next time, we will bid you adieu.